Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Corner Podcast. Brendan allowed me to be the host this week, so we're going to kick things off. How's it going, boys?
Terrible.
Good.
Good. We grinded NHL last night. That was fun.
Yeah, it did not
Don't
go
say
very well.
anything. Don't say a
I want
dang
to get him
Yeah.
thing.
hyped up for this debate.
Oh my god, I'm already hyped because I drank coffee that wasn't coffee. It was burnt water that tasted like cigarettes.
All right, we got two debates for you. Who do we decide starting off, Brendan?
We are going to start off with Tyler's topic of debate, and it's going to be 2 rounds, 4 minutes each of talking, and it's going to be me versus Tyler. His topic today is in 2024, what would you rather build your team around? Front court or a backcourt? Meaning you have a point guard and shooting guard, and then average for the rest, or power forward, center, average for the rest. So we're going to kind of debate between what would I rather have now. Alex is going to be
Easy.
our mediator. He's going to be our 4 minute timer. He's going to make sure we're not yelling at each other or talking over each other. So I
That's gonna be
think,
hard.
Tyler, I think you should go first.
Okay, so down to the nitty gritty. We are not doing the 2024, right?
No, I said we are doing the 2024
Okay,
and the season.
starting off with the 2024 stats of why I think I I think jeez. Yeah, okay. Well, I think having a valuable front court is a lot better than having a back court. If you look at the players today, you have key players that run a team that I looked at the players that are on teams that aren't all around good, I guess. Like you look at the Bulls, they do have a decent team, but they aren't very good. No offense, Brendan. But Vucevic is coming out and playing hot. He's already got 21 points a game, and he's attempting 14 a game. And so I mean, with all those field goals attempted, he shoots about 4.5 threes a game. So having that stretch from the paint to the arc, I think is valuable in a sense. I mean, he already has 7 double doubles. And this year his defensive rating is the highest it's been in his whole career. So I think having a big man to kind of be a presence and be able to lock on to the whole court in itself is probably the most beneficial key you can have. Sure, you can have a point guard who can run the floor, but when he gets down in the paint, if he's like 6'4" or 6'5" and he's going up against a 7 footer, that's a lot harder than having a stretch big like Vooch who can stretch the floor more and go up against big players. Um, then you look at Sengun for the Rockets. I mean, he's averaging 16 and a half points a game. He's shooting 45% from the field. And he's bringing in boards. So sitting at 11 and a half boards a game. Obviously boards kind of dictate a game. Like whoever can out rebound more than likely is going to win the game. I mean, if the team, I don't think you can have the backcourt run and shoot the lights out for all 4 quarters. Obviously, there's going to be misses. I don't think anybody's been perfect behind the arc, let alone in the paint or anything like that, especially in today's league. This league is, to
You got one
me,
minute, just a heads up.
okay. Um, this league is going to a big man's league. I look at Jaren Jackson. I mean, he's attempting 13 and he's making 7 of the shots from the field, and he's shooting 40% from the three. He's getting blocks. He's never shot below 40% from the field, and his 3 point percentage is getting a lot better. Um, you can see he's tenacious on defense. He got into LeBron's head the last matchup. So he drew a tech on him, and he's just good at getting under people's skin. And I think that's what a lot of bigs do. Like Sabonis is top tier as well. But if I
All
had
right,
more time, I would go in that.
you got 15 seconds. You got like any closing arguments here, or
Um, the rookies coming in are amazing. I feel like it's a lot better than the backcourt. So front court is bada bing, bada boom. Big men finish strong, baby. Put it in the paint like Waka Flocka. Go hard in the mother effing paint.
well, you
Can't.
were almost going to end exactly at 4, and then you went on some random tirade about big men, so you fail.
Um,
Congratulations.
it's all about Waka
Uh,
Flocka.
all right, so the synopsis there, rebounding a big key of the game. I would agree with that 100%. Stretch bigs, you do like stretch bigs from what I hear. That's what Brenda told me back in the day. So that all checks out. And then maybe I'm inferring a little bit here, but it sounded like presence of a good big. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call Draymond Green a big per se, but I would throw him in there. So it's kind of like the head game matchup, like the old KG, Tim Duncan, a lot of shit talking, a lot of going back and forth. I'm not sure if I just inferred that from myself or what you were getting at, but yeah, I think well thought out, well reasoned. Brought some stats. Vucevic is an interesting pick, but you know, I mean, he's not bad. He is spreading the floor a little bit more. So, Brendan, what you got, kiddo?
All right. So one thing that Tyler brought up was that a lot of the point guards are smaller and they're having a hard time getting rebounds and not being able to finish against big men. But actually, if you take a look at the past couple of years, we've kind of transformed to more bigger PGs. You look at LaMelo Ball, who's a bigger point guard. You look at Shea, who's a bigger point guard. Even a guy who can play a little bit with the ball, like Drew Holiday, Desmond Bain. Those guys aren't massive, but like Devin Booker, also a bigger guy who plays with the ball. Now, you don't always have to attack the rim. You know, if you are a backcourt player, your main focus is to be able to shoot around the perimeter and within like the elbow area. So your mid range to deep ball. 3 points is always going to be better than 2 points, no matter how free it is. Now, a center can shoot 50% or 60%, but if you look at a guy who's shooting like 40% from three, like Desmond Bain, I would rather have that build around my team. Now, a couple names that I kind of fired off were like Darius Garland having a wonderful year. Drew Holiday is always a Swiss Army knife. Trae Young, who is a straight bucket. And then the two guys that I want to focus on are Desmond Bain and Jalen Brunson. Now, to me, if I were to take a backcourt, I'm going to take Jalen Brunson and I'm going to take Desmond Bain because to attack Tyler's point, yes, guys are smaller, but they have statistically proven to finish good at the rim. Jalen Brunson is a wider point guard, and he can blow by his defender and be able to match the body contact with the guy down low and finish at the rim. Not as a dunking standpoint, but even just getting high enough to where he can float it around him or float it over him, or even maybe do a pump fake and get around him. Yes, it's a hypothetical, but he's statistically proven by also shooting around 45% from the field in general. You know, I'm not looking at his arc by any means of what he can't do. There's no cold, there's no hot, but like I'm looking at when I have Brunson kind of attacking the rim, and then I have Bain. Bain's going to be my corner to around the perimeter specialist. He's shooting around 42% from three. So those two in general shoot 40% from three, 45% from the field, can facilitate the floor. And if I'm taking just average big men, you look at the Dallas Mavericks last year, they made it to the NBA Finals with two average centers and Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Now, they were average last year. I think now they're above average, but last year Derek Lively was a rookie, he was average, and Daniel Gafford, who was a trade piece from Washington, like he played for the worst team, comes back to this team, and he's been lights out for them. Grabbing rebounds is not something that's going to take the biggest expert in the world. You look at Dennis Rodman, he couldn't score to save his life most of the time, but he could rebound just by reading the ball off the rim. So I think if you can just teach those guys how to set picks, grab rebounds, you'll be fine. and your main focus is to be shooting. The meta now in the NBA is shooting. That's what we're looking for is good shooting. Now, stretch bigs are great. I think Vooch, it's a great stretch big. I think a couple other guys in this world like Brook Lopez, but they only shoot like 33%. I want a guy shooting 40%. And with that, I'm just going to conclude by saying that point guards and shooting guards are way better than the big men because I can have a more efficient score.
So do you mean like, okay, so I want to clarify a few points really quick. So like, do you mean better in the sense of like you would prefer to have a more dominant front court versus a more dominant backcourt? Like you think that would give your team the best chance of winning?
No, I'm the backcourt.
Sorry, backcourt. Sorry.
Yes, dominant backcourt, meaning, like I said, Brunson and Bane are going to be my two guys because they're efficient from the field outside of going into the paint.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know why. For some reason, I always invert backcourt and front court because I'm not intelligent. But okay, so then where would you put like a Karl Anthony Towns in there? Because Karl Anthony Towns is like the prime 2024 example of like a stretch big who his post game's fantastic. He just doesn't go down there very often. He's a top 5, top 10 3-point shooter in terms of percentage. Like what argument would you have like against like if you have Cat and Desmond Bane on the team, I don't think they necessarily click because they're way too one dimensional. But like Cat and oh my god, I'm totally forgetting. The point guard for the
Brunson.
Knicks, Jesus Brunson. Yes, I keep thinking Julius Randle for some reason. Yeah, Brunson. Like I think those two could work. But do you think like a Desmond Bane, Karl Anthony Towns could work, or do you think they're too similar?
So we're just arguing in general of like two guards versus two big men. So Tyler's saying that the two big men together would be better than two guards that are above average to elite together. So
Right, yeah,
I'm
no,
so
yeah,
I would
I
think
understand that, but like tangentially related, like
right.
do you think you could pair those two together? Do you think you could pair like a generic stretch big with somebody who's predominantly like a 3-point shooter?
Right. I think if I had Brunson and Cat, I would take that over Bane and Brunson immediately, just because I'm getting every aspect then.
Okay, and how about like Bane and JJJ?
That's a little different because Bane doesn't really handle the ball too much. I feel like with Bane, he's very good at his perimeter. He doesn't need to dribble. He reminds me of a smaller Klay Thompson, so it's harder for him to kind of do that. I would say if it was Ja Morant and JJJ, same thing. I would rather have those two together than a John Bane. But in reality, um, I would say that the more important piece to those two would be the point guard.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's super fair. I was more or less just curious because I was thinking when you were talking, like, okay, where would like a Karl Anthony Towns fit into this? Like you brought up Brook Lopez, like 2020, 2021, he was pretty solid. He's
Mhm.
definitely declined over the past few years. So I'm just going through hypotheticals in my head there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation because like if you look from like let's say 2014, 2015 to like 2020, 2021, it was a small league. You know, they're going small. You can look at the Houston Rockets. I mean, they had Clint Capella. That was the biggest guy, like hands down. You had PJ Tucker running the 5 for a while. And now you kind of see the shift where now the league is going big. You got Jokic. You got the Wolves last year going, you know, 2 or 3 bigs on the floor at once. So it's interesting. It's hard for me to like if you look at the dominance of I mean, even just yeah, from 2015 to like 2019, the dominance of the Warriors. I mean, it was Clay and Steph. You know, you got Draymond Green in there, you got Andrew Bogut in there. Um, I mean, you could even throw Kyrie Irving in there. So it's kind of cool how the league is oscillating back and forth. But I definitely think now we're going more towards like a big man oriented league. But I mean, I think argument can be made for both of those.
Tyler, do you have a rebuttal?
So I will say that the I don't want to bring officiating into all this for a whole lot, but this year officiating has been a lot more laxed. I also think that's why having a strong front court is very beneficial because they're allowed to play physical. Like I feel like the league has not gone as soft as it was like the last 2 years. Um, so allowing them to work in the paint, um, and actually be able to use their body and not have so many fluke calls called on them, I feel like that's a lot more beneficial. Like obviously, like the role for the front court or the backcourt to go to the lane is predominantly like to draw fouls. And I feel like with that being a lot harder, that's why it's turned into more of a shooting league. But that's why you see so many big men stretching the floor, trying to stretch the floor and shoot like start shooting more. Like you look at Yama, like he can shoot from anywhere. I mean, obviously he's tall, but like he's focused his game on using his height in other aspects of the floor other than just being able to turn around and dunk the ball without even jumping. So now he has handles. He can shoot from the post, he can shoot from three, he can finish. Same thing with Giannis. I know Giannis is upping his game to kind of shoot a little bit more. I know it's kind of iffy with Giannis because he's not known for a shooter because he's more physical. But even then, like I mean, Naz Reid is tenacious in the paint too. I mean, I don't know. Like even looking at like the Pacers with Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner, they I know they can play some gritty defense. Um, and then I don't know. I feel like the league is just turning more into a front court based game, but it's allowing so many more opportunities for shooters to get open. But that also includes the big men, even Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis could always like shoot a three, but he's also like one of like he brings the game of like Ben Wallace or Ron Artest. Not actually, but like it's allowing to be a lot more physical. So I don't know. You see a lot more big men like kind of covering the arc a little bit. Like I know watching the Wolves, I don't want to bring the Wolves into this either a whole lot. But even having Rudy like be there for like the switches on pick and rolls and everything like that. He's not down in the paint. He's everywhere on the court. And I mean even looking at like Sabonis too. Um I just feel like Sabonis this year, what does he have? Sabonis already has
He had the
seven double
first
doubles.
perfect triple double in league history the other night.
Exactly, with what is it? It's 8 games played, and I mean he already has three triple doubles. So I mean, uh,
So I want to forcefully interject again really quick, but I think a point you bring up is interesting, especially in today's NBA where everything is a little bit more amorphous, where like what position is LeBron? Yeah, he's technically a small forward, but he can play all of the positions. What position is Draymond Green? Technically a small forward, power forward, whatever. He can play all those positions. You could look back to, God forbid, Ben Simmons, but like there was a while where people were hyped for like the 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" point guard, the big guy who can get around smaller defenders. He's got long wingspans. Like for a while, that was going to be like the new coming of the NBA is these big point guards, not these like shorter guys like Chris Paul. So it is kind of interesting to see like you get these bigger guys again. Carl Anthony Towns has kind of revolutionized it. Dirk Nowitzki has kind of revolutionized it. So we're in a really interesting time in the NBA, I think, where there's a lot of different ways you can win. It's just are you going to take advantage of what you got? But just kind of what I was thinking when you were talking about that, especially like Victor Wembanyama.
yeah, because I will say too, Jay Huff. I watched that the Grizzlies Lakers game. I think it was like either yesterday or 2 days ago.
I think 2 nights ago, yeah.
Jay Huff was shooting the lights out. And even holding a defensive rating this year at 122. So I mean, I feel like being able to shoot a three as a forward, especially with the Grizzlies when you have Ja Morant, who's like a, a paint god. Like he's like a John Wall with all like the circus shots that he
Very
has.
slasher esque.
Yeah. So I mean, having Jay Huff, like I know he's been in the league for 3 years now. He's I think he's making a name for himself because of how versatile he is. Versatile. Um, but either way, I think it's just still having a big man presence anywhere on the court is insane. Like you can do whatever you want with like Chris Paul. I mean, that's kind of unfair to throw out there, but I mean, I don't know. I just like you can run the floor through a point guard, but how much can a guard actually do? Like Steph can carry 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 the load. I hate saying that because all you guys do is just laugh.
I'm
Um,
not doing shit.
yeah, you just laughed. But he can carry the load, obviously, because they proved it in that stretch where they went to the finals. But I mean, that was also a super team. But still, it's like I don't know. Buddy Hield is doing it too. But I'm not trying
Well,
to side with
and
Brendan. But
right. Well, and you could have perfectly thrown Kevin Durant into your argument too. Dude, 7 feet tall. He's one of the best offensive players of all time.
yeah,
And again, he's somebody who could run the floor. He could play the center. I'm sure he has played a center. I mean, he's a little scrawny for it, but like I just keep going back. Like the league is so amorphous right now. Like you can interchange. I mean, last year when the Wolves were playing Boston, one of the primary defenders on Karl Anthony Towns was Drew Holiday, and he did well. But then on the flip side of that, one of the issues that teams had against the Timberwolves is we were too fucking big for everybody else. So we're at this interesting point. I think both of you guys again bring up wonderful points, and I don't think there's necessarily like a wrong answer per se, but like you got to find that good balance of both of those, and just try and give it your all.
yeah. And one more thing before Brendan gets his turn, Nikola Jokic. That's all I have to say because it's just Jokic. Like
I
last
hear he's
last
good.
season, yeah, last season he was like making insane threes.
Yeah,
So that's what
especially that
Brendan, your
Lakers
turn.
series over Anthony Davis.
Yeah. So
All right, Brendan, fire away.
So I don't know what we kind of want to base this off of, but like I feel like guards in general just have better success. You look at some of the worst draft picks of all time, you're looking at guys who have been horrible down the road, and they've always been the bigger, like the big men. You come in, you're taller and stronger than everyone in college. You get drafted number one, number two overall, but it doesn't translate to the game as well because either one, you're too much of a big man and you can't do anything else besides play in the inside, and you're just getting bullied because everyone in the league is strong. There's a reason why they're in the league. You're an NBA talent. That's why the talent pool is so large. And I feel like as a guard, the talent pool as a guard is just a wide range. I could take many different guards and probably build a good backcourt that would work perfectly. With front court guys, I feel like you have your main five. You have Karl Anthony Towns. You have Nikola Jokic. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have Anthony Davis. And shoot, I'll even put in Kevin Durant there. You have five guys right there that are prolific at everything that they do. Now let's take the guards. You have Damian Lillard. You have Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Shea, Trae Young. Like all those guys are just unbelievable at scoring the ball. And that doesn't even count the guys who can play defense like Drew Holiday and Desmond Bane. I think guard is just a lot more versatile than front court guys. So that's one point I'm going to go. The second point, and I hate to rip on this dude, but yes, Tyler J. Huff has been very good this year, but he was also in the league for 3 years and he hasn't done squat. So he's having a very good 8 games because we talk about how short this sample size is and kind of building his name, but he's shooting 4 times a game. I cannot base I cannot base an argument off a guy who only shoots 4 to 5 times a game and has 2 rebounds per game. Like that's hard for me to be like, he's a front court guy, but he doesn't grab rebounds. He doesn't really block shots. He's just sitting in the corner. He's basically a guard. He's basically playing the small forward position because he's sitting on those perimeters and hitting his shots. So yes, Jay Huff, congratulations. You're having a very good start to the season. I hope you do well, but I don't see you as a true front court person, even though you are 7-1. Damn, 7-1. That's crazy. Um,
I feel like that's tall. I don't know, but
and then you have a guy like Zach Edey. Now, Zach Edey can do a little bit of everything, but at a lower standpoint. I truly don't believe he can be a high caliber shooter and a high caliber finisher and a high caliber rebounder because he's just too damn slow. I think that's another thing when it comes to front courts and them being bust. They are just too damn slow usually. Jahlil Okafor proved it to us. Zach Edey, even though he's having a good year, I don't think it's going to stick because he's just so slow. Um, where it's a fast-paced game now. Like that's how the NBA is. And if you think two taller dudes who are going to be really slow can keep up with a team of guys who are just running, that's hard. That's not easy to do. Um, Another thing is just look at the top four teams right now: Cleveland, Boston, Phoenix, and OKC. Now, Boston and Phoenix, their best player is a forward, but Cleveland, OKC, it's the guard. And even though Kevin Durant, I counted him as like that tallish small forward type role where he is technically a power forward, Jason Tatum's not a power forward. He's a small forward. Who's their second best player? Jaylen Brown. He's a shooting guard. You look at Cleveland, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, those guys are point guard, shooting guard. You have OKC, their best player is Shea. He's a point guard. Phoenix's second best player is Devin Booker. He's a shooting guard. I just think it's super top heavy with backcourt guys, and it's very limited with front court, even though it's the development of the front court in 2024. So yes, I think eventually we'll get there, but right now in 2024, I think your best bet is still a backcourt.
no, and you could throw the Golden State Warriors in there right now. Holy shit! I mean, like Wiggins is playing well, Green is playing well. Curry's missed a few games, but he's been playing well. Buddy fucking healed. Holy shit! People were just trashing him like a week ago. The dude's clutch as fuck. Well, so far, but like again, I just like I think the perfect way that this experiment would have worked out is if the Wolves, not to bring them up again, but if the Wolves were to run it back this year and keep just the big tall interior that they had, I think this would have been such a cool experiment to run to see. Because like who did the Timberwolves get picked apart by in the Western Conference Finals? Two guards. I mean, okay, Luka again can play any position. Luka runs a team. Him and Kyrie, they got picked apart by guards. But on the flip side of that, if Dallas had who is the 7'6" center that the Mavericks had? Bradley, the white guy who was really tall. He got dunked on by everybody.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Avery Bradley or Bradley Avery or something like that.
No,
I don't remember. Like he's not going to pick apart the Wolves, but if you got Luka and Kyrie, and then you got Derek Lively in there, like if you have, you still need to have both. But like, yeah, Dallas picked apart the big guys, but then Dallas got picked apart by the best team in the league. So yeah, it's an interesting. I think to wrap up this portion of the debate, who do you think is going to win the finals, and B, who do you think the person who wins the finals are they going to have a more impactful front court or back court?
Well, if you just take a look at the top four teams, like I talked about, the more impactful guys are their guards, I would say.
Yeah, but are you going to say Phoenix is going to go to the finals?
No, but if I look at Boston, who just won it last year, like Porzingis has been out. Al Horford is 37, which yes, he's good, but he's not great. And then you have Tatum, who is a forward. He's the small forward. But you have Drew Holiday, you have Jaylen Brown, you even have Pritchard, who's coming off the bench. I can't even think who their point guard is right now, besides Drew Holiday.
So
I guess Pritchard, yeah, but no, like I think just looking at Derek White, like they're guard heavy, and that's why they won, is because they are so versatile in their guards.
Okay, so then Tyler, do you think that the team, maybe not win, but like, do you think a team? We're going to assume that Boston's going to make it to the finals because they're just infinitely better than everybody else on the NBA right now. do you think somebody from the West is going to, do you think it's going to be Dallas who's going to be guard heavy, or do you think it is going to be a team that has quite a few bigs, like a big interior presence? Do you think that's going to make any difference whatsoever?
Well, because so if you look, if Denver, for instance, like somehow manages to flip, I mean, there's still like 70 games to play, so anything can happen. But let's just say the Nuggets do what they did last year. Jokic was stellar. Obviously, like I mean, even having like the Wolves, Naz Reid and Rudy and Cat last year, Anthony Edwards can do a lot, but without the intangibles of being able to space the floor with the bigs who can roll on the pick and roll, I feel like that's going to be like the biggest thing. Even with, I'll bring up Cleveland. I know we said Boston, but like Cleveland, like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, I mean, they're obviously like their spacing is crazy because anybody can do anything on that team. Obviously, it could be all about the guards, but because you have good big men out there, it allows the guards to be able to get where they need to go. So, yes, Boston is guard heavy. They have phenomenal guards. It's just a matter of, I mean, how the bigs play, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to defend the bigs on the East, but
Yeah, and I certainly didn't word that question correctly. I'm just trying to think like out loud. Like I want to put these two to the test, and I want to see like obviously it's going to take like years, but like definitively, like right now in 2024, like is there a way that we can find out like that you got to wait until the finals, but like can we figure out which is more salient to a team's success as the front court or the back court? So
I mean, we found out last year though. You literally brought it up. The Timberwolves, who are big heavy, they have three guys who could be all-star caliber players in Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Cat, and they're bigger and stronger than all of them. Lost to the Mavericks, who had average bigs and two stellar guards. It's like, yes, I get it. Luka's bigger, but he can't play center. He can't
I
play
don't think he
power
could play the
forward.
four either. Yeah.
No, he has to play with the ball. So it was proven just last year in the Western Conference Finals that the guards are taking that step of still taking over the league. And you still look at right now, I think Cleveland makes a great point. Yes, the guards don't play as well without the bigs, but the guards are still the ones that are taking over the games most of the time. So yeah, I get it, but like they're still taking over like the shots and all that aspect. Even though Evan Mobley's having a great year and Jared Allen's having a great year, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are still their two best players. So
but it's
Yeah,
still the
and
pick and pop play. Like the bigs can still pass it too. So even if they aren't scoring, it's it's not necessarily the assist, but it's what's being done on the floor. Like
it's
it
the
goes back to like
intangibles.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the pick and pop with like I don't know, like I'm trying to think. Like you have Gafford or PJ Washington set a screen for Kyrie. He rolls around the screen and then he dishes it to PJ Washington or Gafford, and then he just kicks it out to Luca for an open look. So it's like obviously the guards can score, but
no,
it's what the bigs are doing to stretch the floor
I get that,
to
but
make
the
it possible.
to me the big is only setting the screen and they just have to decide if I'm gonna go out or go in. The guard has to be able to see the floor, get past the screen and the defender, and read if they need to go up with the ball or go out to the big. And it just the only thing else that the big has to do is just make their shot. So I think there's more relied upon on the point guard and the shooting guard than there really is with the power forward and center. Yes, if you have a good screen setter, that's very important. Jokic is the best at it. I think he is the best player right now in the league, but that is one dude compared to the others. I feel like five guards who are just right behind him.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know. If
I
you have a big that can like pop it out in the paint, like just like I like Jokic, like he can make flashy passes in the post. Like he comes off a screen, he gets it in the paint, and then he dishes it out.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of bigs that are able to do that in today's league now. So I think that's why it's more of a shooting league because people are everywhere on the floor.
I would have to disagree. I think Jokic is the only one that could do that as a big.
I
Besides
mean,
maybe Giannis. I think Giannis could also do it, but I think those two are just unbelievable at it, and then it just ruins for the rest of them.
I really, I do I want to emphasize this very, very heavily to a much lesser, to a much lesser extent. Like Karl Anthony Towns is a good passer, not Jokic level. Obviously, I'm not saying that. I wouldn't consider Karl Anthony Towns a top tier passer, but he's still an above average passer for a center. But the only difference between him and Jokic is Karl's much more of a like spot up 3 point shooter, or I'm going to ISO and try and get to the basket. All right, guys, that was the end of our first debate. Jump in the comments. Let us know how they're wrong, how they're right, um, how it went overall. Let us know. We enjoy doing this stuff. We're doing it for fun, not really any other reason. Just good, lighthearted debates. So yeah, let us know. I think Brendan or myself will set up a poll, determine who the winner was. Like you said, if you want to jump into the comments and defend your side or whoever's side, then please let us know.